This is what happened to the lives of some of the richest people who ended up in jail. Today, we will take a look at prisons that were practically built and customized by millionaires and well-known crime bosses for their own comfort. From cells made just for one person and their close associates, possibly among the most expensive in history, to prisons that inmates practically ran like their own business where they could do almost anything they wanted. Here are some of the richest prisoners who lived like kings inside jail. But before we start, if you're new to our channel, make sure to subscribe so you'll always be updated with videos like this. Juan Gabriel, whose real name is Alberto Aguilera Valadez, is one of the greatest legends of Mexican music. His songs became a part of Mexican culture, and while he was still alive, his wealth was estimated to have reached over $200 million. But before he became a millionaire and one of the most famous singers in the country, he went through one of the darkest periods of his life: imprisonment. In 1969, he was imprisoned in the infamous Lecumberri prison, a jail feared by many in Mexico after being accused of theft. At that time, he had neither money nor fame. He was just an ordinary young man unknown to the world. At first, he was placed in a regular cell. He had no special privileges, no luxuries, and he was just like any other prisoner. But everything gradually changed because of his extraordinary talent. When the guards and fellow prisoners heard him sing, they quickly noticed that the man in front of them was different. His voice became a source of comfort and relief amid the harsh life inside the prison. Because of this, the prison officials liked him very much. After some time, he was transferred to a more spacious and comfortable cell. He was given clean clothes, a better bed, and privileges that most prisoners did not receive. While others ate the simple prison food, Juan Gabriel received special meals. The guards brought him food from outside, such as meat, tamales, sweet bread, and high-quality coffee. Soon he became the main singer inside the prison. He often gave small performances for the guards and even for the powerful prisoners. Eventually, he was even allowed to have a guitar so he could not only sing, but also create his own music. Gradually, his talent became known even outside the prison. Influential people started talking about him, and according to some reports, even high-ranking officials took a personal interest in him and made sure he had enough protection while inside the prison. It is believed that the connections he made while in prison paved the way for his release in 1971, even before he finished his sentence. After his release, he immediately landed his first big contract in music. From there, his rise continued until he became one of the most successful artists in the history of Mexico. In 2016, Juan Gabriel passed away and left a huge legacy in the world of music, along with a fortune reaching hundreds of millions of dollars. It's amazing to think that the prison that had once been a nightmare for him also became his path to international fame. Now, let's move on to the world of football. Robinho, whose real name is Robson de Sousa, was a former Brazilian football star who played for Real Madrid and AC Milan. Throughout his career, he reportedly accumulated around $50 million. In 2022, he was sentenced to prison in connection with a disturbing case that occurred in Italy in 2013. However, the prison he was sent to was far from an ordinary jail. He was transferred to a prison known as the Prison of Celebrities, where former football players, politicians, and other famous personalities are incarcerated. The prisoners there live in spacious and clean cells. They have access to recreation and relaxation areas that resemble a recreational center more than a typical prison. Unlike ordinary prisoners, Robinho is also allowed to receive food cooked by his family and sent from outside. This includes traditional Brazilian dishes, grilled meats, and homemade desserts. He also participates in football tournaments inside the prison. Because of his skill in the game, he has earned respect even from the most influential criminals inside. Because of this, he gained almost constant protection because some gang leaders saw that having him on their side was beneficial. He also has access to the library, television, and even video games. In addition, he can work in the prison garden as part of the agricultural program. Because of this, he's able to go outside and get sunlight almost all day, so he doesn't really feel imprisoned compared to an ordinary inmate. But one of the most surprising systems in this prison is what some call their version of Tinder. There is a system there where inmates can meet people through photos and letters. If both parties come to an agreement, women can visit the prison for a special private visit, similar to the conjugal visits allowed in some prisons. And what's even more surprising is that there are almost no limits on when this can happen. Whenever the inmate wants, he can have this kind of special visit. Although Robinho is officially imprisoned, his way of living is very different from that of an ordinary inmate. He took advantage of the leniency in Brazil's prison system, and because of his money and fame, he lived in a way that many free people outside could not even experience. In other words, he still lived a privileged life. The only difference was that his official residence was now a prison. Now let's get to know Rolando Florian Felix, the man known as the king of luxury inside the prison. Rolando Florian Felix was a Dominican drug lord who led one of the largest illegal syndicates in recent decades. Before he was arrested, his wealth was estimated to have reached almost $100 million. And because of that enormous amount of money and his influence, he was able to turn his cell in Najayo prison into something like a private apartment. Even before he was finally imprisoned, he was already prepared. He made sure that his standard of living inside the prison would not be lower than when he was still outside. According to reports, he had long maintained his connections with judges and prosecutors. He allegedly gave large bribes, which resulted in a lighter sentence for him. Furthermore, even when he first entered prison, almost all the comforts he used to enjoy outside were already there. The only difference now is that he's inside a cell. His room has its own air conditioner, so he doesn't have to endure the intense heat. A 42-inch plasma television is also mounted on the wall. Next to it is a refrigerator filled with expensive food and various delicacies that he can eat anytime. Like, he just checked into an exclusive, all-inclusive hotel. The furniture in his cell is made of expensive mahogany wood and was specially made just for him. His bed is also very large, king size, and it's almost no different from the beds you would find in some of the most luxurious hotels in the world. He even has his own collection of books and expensive paintings, so his cell looks more like the office or private room of a wealthy collector than a prisoner's room. While other prisoners are forced to eat whatever is served in the prison, which according to some reports is often not fresh and sometimes brought in large containers, Florian Felix has never eaten food from the prison kitchen. Instead, he has his own chefs right inside the prison. Whatever food he wants, they prepare it for him immediately. If he wants black caviar, no problem. If he wants lobster, it is cooked right away. It is said that he often eats lobster, expensive Japanese steak, premium Dutch cheese, and drinks high-quality wine. It is estimated that he spends almost $1,000 a week just on food. While other prisoners argue over a simple portion of beans, Florian Felix lives as if every day he is dining at a 5-star restaurant. He also has access to the internet. He is able to play gaming consoles that were allegedly brought into the prison with the help of bribed guards. These are connected to his television, so he can comfortably play while lying on his large bed. He is also free to listen to any music he wants, especially salsa and trap music. Because he has a satellite dish, he can watch almost all television channels and various entertainment programs. He is always up to date on the news, as if he weren't cut off from the outside world. But the most surprising of all are the grand feasts he holds right inside the prison. He regularly organizes private parties inside the prison. Alcohol flows freely. There are female guests, live music, and dancing. In other words, things that are almost impossible for an ordinary prisoner became a normal part of his life inside the prison. With the help of the guards, Florian is able to throw grand parties with live music and celebrations that last until dawn. And what's even more surprising, almost no official dares to stop him. He also has special privileges when it comes to receiving visitors. Unlike other prisoners who have to wait for a scheduled day and limited hours for family visits, he is free to receive visitors even beyond the official schedule set by the prison. In fact, his cell has almost become a private luxury apartment where he is free to receive various guests, including private visitors. According to reports, he allegedly spends around $3,000 to $5,000 each week just for models and women who visit him inside the prison. There are also reports saying that aside from professional models, there are women he personally invites for secret meetings. Because of his immense wealth, Florian was able to bribe some guards to get almost every privilege he wanted. If a prisoner disobeyed or did not follow his rules, all it took was a single order from him. After that, according to reports, that person would be harmed by some police officers and even by other prisoners. Soon, he became recognized as the most powerful leader inside the maximum security section of the prison. He controlled a large part of the system inside the prison, as if it were his own organization. But despite his influence and wealth, his end eventually came. In 2009, he was attacked and killed inside the prison itself after a conflict with an employee of the correctional system. Because of his death, the public gradually became aware of the severe level of corruption and the luxurious lifestyle he enjoyed inside the prison for many years. The whole society was shocked when the full truth came out. It was only then that the public truly saw how severe the lawlessness was inside that prison. In history, Florian is remembered as someone who was able to do almost everything he wanted inside the prison, simply because of his money and influence. Now let's go to a prison that looks more like a resort than a jail. The San Antonio prison, located on Margarita Island in Venezuela, has become a symbol of extreme corruption and almost complete inmate control of the prison. Here, money and power dictate almost everything that happens. The main person who ruled this place was Teófilo Rodriguez, better known by the alias El Conejo, or the Rabbit. He was a well-known crime boss who amassed great wealth, and under his influence, the entire prison became a center of luxury and various vices. While most prisons in Venezuela are known for extreme poverty, filthy conditions, and violence that claims the lives of many inmates, the situation in San Antonio prison was very different. It was like its own world. There was a large swimming pool inside where inmates could freely relax on hot days, as if they were in a luxury resort. The cells of powerful inmates were equipped with large beds, plasma televisions, and air conditioners, comforts that are almost impossible to find in an ordinary prison. Alcohol, relatives, models, women, and even the wives of inmates could freely enter inside with almost no strict limitations. Meanwhile, the wealthiest inmates could even order food from abroad. This included fresh seafood, imported steak, and expensive desserts. Barbecues and large feasts were also often held inside the prison, things that for most inmates around the world would seem impossible to experience. Only premium drinks were served, from expensive whiskey to high-quality wines. Because of this, San Antonio prison became famous for its private parties, which were even attended by famous musicians and women invited to entertain the powerful inmates. Even more surprising, some inmates were still able to freely use weapons and mobile phones. They control the flow of money, buy various services, bribe officials, and in reality, they are the ones running the entire system from inside the prison. It even reached the point where some inmates were allowed to leave the prison in the morning to attend to their businesses, then would voluntarily return at night to sleep in their cells. In 2016, after the death of El Conejo, the Venezuelan government finally intervened. They revoked his power and placed the entire prison back under government control. By 2017, the San Antonio prison was also closed. All that remained was the memory of how it happened. For several years, a small group of criminals almost controlled an official prison and turned it into a symbol of corruption, injustice, and apparent impunity. Now let's get to know another prison king, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. El Chapo is the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful drug cartels in the world. At the height of his power, his wealth was estimated to exceed $12 billion. During his several imprisonments in Mexico, he used his influence to live a lifestyle ordinary prisoners could never enjoy. While imprisoned at Puente Grande Prison, his cell was equipped with a plasma television. He also had several mobile phones that he used to communicate with his family, keep up with what was happening outside, and most importantly, continue leading the Sinaloa cartel through calls and orders from inside the prison. He also had his own refrigerator filled with expensive food as well as a private bathroom, a huge privilege inside the prison. While other inmates ate the usual prison food, El Chapo was regularly served premium steak, fresh seafood, expensive desserts shipped from Italy, and a variety of special drinks. He often shared these meals with his closest associates, and among his favorite drinks were expensive cognac and premium champagne, as if he were in a private millionaire's club instead of inside a prison. He also had access to music, satellite television, and even a small private gym where he maintained his physique. The rules regarding his visitors were also not strict. His relatives and women could visit him freely, almost without any limitations. Because of his fame and influence, almost everyone inside the prison knew him. According to reports and rumors, some of his visitors were said to include famous models, television hosts, and other beautiful women. Even the guards did not treat him like an ordinary prisoner. Instead, many of them served him, followed his orders, and did various favors for one of the most dangerous and wealthiest criminals in the world. Over time, his influence grew even wider. He was able to bribe various officials, and he not only controlled his own prison, but also several other detention facilities in different parts of Mexico. He gave orders on who should be punished, who needed to pay, and what would happen to prisoners who refused to follow his rules. He didn't just intimidate the prisoners, even their families were said to be at risk if they didn't follow his orders. Because of his immense influence, he eventually believed he could do anything. Before he finally escaped, he reportedly managed to hold more than 40 grand parties inside the prison. There was alcohol, models, live music, and celebrations that lasted for days. During that time, the entire prison almost turned into one big nightclub. But eventually, all of his privileges came to an end. After he was arrested again, he was sent to ADX Florence, one of the strictest supermax prisons in the world, located in the state of Colorado. When he arrived there, he completely lost all of his former power and special treatment. He has been imprisoned for more than 7 years in almost complete isolation, under extremely strict rules and without any kind of luxury. According to his family and lawyers, he often experiences intense psychological and physical pressure. It is said that he has woken up in the middle of the night, deprived of enough sleep, doused with cold water, and sometimes given false news about his relatives as a way to break him mentally. There are also reports saying that he experienced harassment, abuse, and extreme exhaustion that affected his health. Some believe that his mental and physical condition is gradually deteriorating due to the continuous pressure he is experiencing. Until now, he remains imprisoned there, and many believe that he will spend the rest of his life there, never experiencing a normal life outside again. Now, let's take a look at a prison that is the opposite of the previous ones we've mentioned. For example, there is no widespread corruption, no luxurious lifestyle for criminals, and no power that can be bought with money. Instead, the unique luxury here is the humane treatment of prisoners. Bastoy prison in Norway is known worldwide as one of the most unique prisons. It shows how prisoners can be given a decent life without the need for bribes or illegal privileges. It is located on an island in the Oslo Fjord, and it houses some of the most dangerous criminals in Norway, including those convicted of murder and other serious offenses. However, the entire prison system here is focused on rehabilitation and transforming lives, not just simple punishment. Instead of cold concrete cells, the inmates live in wooden houses where each one has their own room. There are also no high walls or fences with barbed wire. They are free to move around the entire island as long as they follow the rules, just like residents of a small community. Instead of eating in the usual prison cafeteria, they cook their own food using fresh and high-quality ingredients. There are also gardens and farms on the island where they themselves grow some of the food they eat. The goal is to maintain nutritious and balanced meals while teaching them responsibility. And the facilities don't end there. During winter, they can go skiing. They also have access to an Olympic-sized swimming pool. They are also free to go horseback riding, ride bicycles in the fresh air, and use the tennis courts and spacious football fields. In addition, the prison has its own beach where inmates can swim in the cold waters of the fjord. Aside from the facilities, the prison also offers various creative and cultural activities such as painting, music, and theater. Because of all this, many people say that Bastoy prison resembles a resort hotel more than a typical prison. Upon arriving at the prison, an inmate will not feel the heavy and frightening atmosphere that is usually associated with jails. Instead, it feels like living in a peaceful and orderly community with freedoms, but still with clear limitations. For some, it feels like a peaceful place that offers a chance to start over, while constantly reminding them that they are there because of the crime they committed. Some also say that living there is similar to living in a comfortable apartment, with conveniences that even some hardworking and honest workers outside have never experienced. But the most important reason why this system is recognized is its results. The number of prisoners who successfully change their lives after being released is very high, and the percentage of those who commit crimes again is very low. While inside the prison, they are taught various professions and practical skills so that when they are released, they can have decent jobs and start a new life as responsible citizens. Because of this, Bastoy prison is often considered one of the best examples of successful prison system reform. Up to now, many countries are still discussing whether this kind of system can be used in their own prisons. And now we want to hear your opinion. Of all the stories you've heard, which one surprised you the most and why? Do you think it's fair for some prisoners to have this kind of lifestyle? Or does it mean that if a person has money and influence, they can bend the system? Share your answer in the comments section. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit like. If you have any comments or opinions, you can also leave a dislike. And if you want to watch more amazing and surprising stories about the richest and most powerful people in the world, subscribe to the channel and watch our previous videos.